have class, before we have the class, uh, I'd like to talk about something I think that's very important. And actually, at the request of Bob Sink, who I spoke to earlier today, and he asked me if I would talk about this in class. And I think it's a very essential thing for all of us to realize. Being in meditation is not a spiritual life. Meditation is simply a craft. Understand? Somebody else coming. Learning how to use the tools that we are born with, mind, breath, will. Understand? People still coming. Mind, breath, will, and above everything, a need to do it, to build a system inside ourselves that will enable us to have a spiritual life. Spiritual life is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And a spiritual life takes place for somebody when their heart is open, they live with compassion, they live with love, understand? They truly have a capacity to stay balanced inside, the mind is quiet. And when all of these things exist in us, we can receive the wisdom and the knowledge from the universe. That's the work of meditation. Meditation in itself is not a spiritual life. Because you come to these classes, it doesn't mean you're having a spiritual life. What it means is that you're working on yourself to build a system inside that will enable you to have a spiritual life. Because that's basically what this is all about. And the ultimate goal is really to live here with love, with your heart open, with compassion for other human beings and the suffering that people go through, not judging people, not, just being open to what life brings. And life, as I always tell you all, is the greatest teacher that you can possibly have. The problem isn't life. The problem is that people are not strong inside themselves, enough in themselves to be able to sit in front of life and let life be their teacher, to listen to life, to listen to each other, to listen to everything that goes on in this world and allow it to be a reminder that in order for us to truly have a spiritual life, it's essential that we build a system inside ourselves that enables us to do it. This takes time, it takes a lot of work. And honestly, the only thing that any of us are up against is ourselves. We like to blame the world for all our bullshit, but it's not the world, it's us. The reason why we are, nervous and full of anxiety and tension is because we haven't built the kind of system inside ourselves that enables us to truly live here and to be able to transform the tension into a spiritual life. I've learned years ago, you understand that everything is my teacher. Every one of you is my teacher. Every one of you, by your very presence here, whatever you bring here, is teaching me what I have to do to grow. And I have in my heart a deep gratitude for the presence of everybody here. Because doing classes like this and sharing what I've learned with all of you and what you've learned with me, which is really the key to all of this, that there is the giving and the receiving, the unconditional giving and the receiving in a non-judgmental way, in a way where we can truly deal with other people's problems and we can open our hearts and we can live with a connection to God and we can build a system inside that enables us to have a spiritual life. So this work that we do is just like steps on a ladder. And you're gonna, when you work on yourself, you're gonna come up against all kinds of things that you're gonna like and you're not gonna like. We're all full of this, with things we like and things we don't like. Otherwise, we wouldn't look out the world, we wouldn't see the world that way. You understand? Because what we see outside ourselves is just a mirror image of us. And if what we see makes us angry and upsets us and, and gets us fighting with people and arguing and tense and So what we see is a reflection of ourselves. And all we're doing is fighting with ourselves. So as the inner life of a human being changes, the world around them changes. The people that come into their life come in on a different level. The people they live with every day are on a different level. You know, when you're open in your heart and you're strong inside, nobody can take advantage of you. It's really true. They can only take advantage of you if you're neurotic, you're nervous, you're, insecure inside. And that's when people really take advantage of other people. But when you're open, in order to even approach you, they have to be open. Otherwise, there's this inner protection that comes from God, that inner security that irradiates out of you. And it really forces people around you to approach you differently. And if they don't approach you differently, understand you have enough inner balance to be able to deal with the situation. And that's what this work is about. It's what I learned from Rudy, how to transform everything into a spiritual life. There's no more positive and negative. It's just energy. And we can take it and draw it into the chakra system. We can build balance with it. We can learn to open our hearts with it, quiet our minds with it. We can learn to draw it through the sexual area to the base of the spine, where it activates Kundalini. Understand? And we do this because we have built a deep sense of refinement in ourselves that is capable of opening to God and to higher energy in the universe. And I always say there are three things in this work, although Rudy never talked about it in these terms, but years of doing it, really allowed me to understand how extraordinary this work is we do. Because you've got to build the chakra below the navel. I talk about this all the time. I'm almost sick of talking about it. and you got to build that chakra because it does three things. You understand? The first thing it allows you to do is to draw spiritual energy, to draw the nourishment, the Shakti from the cosmos. The second thing it enables you to do is to be able to live in this world, you understand? And to be able to live with love, with compassion, with balance, with harmony, and to be able to function like this every day. Life, we all know, is, it's fierce, it's strong, it's crazy. It does strange things to all of us as we get older and grow up. But if we get that inner balance, you understand, we can transform life. Because we no longer approach life with anger and unhappiness, with compassion, with love, with joy, with allowing the world to be. It takes a tremendous inner strength to do this. It takes an incredible inner strength to receive spiritual energy. The spiritual energy is not an hors d'oeuvre service, It's very powerful energy. And if you're not strong inside, it can burn you up. And the third element, as I always tell you, is Kundalini. Because Kundalini is the pathway to God. And if you really, get Kundalini, rising inside you, you need to have, again, balance, strength, rootedness in order to deal with that powerful energy. So all three of these energies are really strong. And the problem with people is that they haven't developed a system inside that is strong enough to deal with life, to deal with spirit, and to finally deal with an energy force like Kundalini that really allows them to attain a state of enlightenment. This is the work we do. It's threefold, And I think it's a very important work. In fact, I've never come across anything like it in my life. That really treats these things this way. And not only talks about these things, but there's an exercise you can do. You understand? To make what I'm talking about possible for yourself. And it also is a healing force. We all have to be healed, You know, this is no big deal. It's no big secret. Everybody is a little fucked up. You know, we all need to be healed. You know, and how do you heal yourself? You know, harmony, balance, love, compassion, quiet mind, spirit. I mean, that's how you get healed in life. You know, not by thinking about it and analyzing it and getting upset about it and nervous about it and tense about it. You know, that doesn't do anything. All it does is make it worse. So this meditation that Rudy left us is one of the most extraordinary things in the world. And the greatest gift that he left to all of us, you know, is this double breathing exercise. It's the most extraordinary thing because it does exactly what I'm talking about. It's done it for me, and it can do it for every single one of you. And my job is not to be a guru or a swami or a teacher. I mean, who needs it? You know, it's just boring and stupid. You know, my job is to give it away. That's my job to all of you who come that want it. I can't give it away if you don't come. I can't give it away if you come to these classes once a week, once every 3 weeks. You know, it doesn't work that way. There has to be a consistency of effort on my part and on your part. You know, and that consistency of effort makes possible what I'm talking about. Anyway, God bless you all. I know I talk about this a lot, but I know it's so freaking important, you know, and it finally has to register in people that this is what this meditation is all about. God is love. Well, how do you love everything in life if you're completely neurotic inside yourself? Not possible. You got to heal yourself. You got to fix yourself. You got to stop the mind from yakking. You got to stop all that emotional quicksand that goes on inside. You got to stop all that sexual energy that drives everybody crazy, you know? And you have to learn how to use all those energies as a way of developing a chakra system. Because the mind, the heart, emotions, sex, fuel energy, they're all powerful energies. And they can be used to develop a really strong inner life. Please try and sit still. They can be used to develop a really strong inner life. They also can be used to get ourselves into a lot of trouble in the world and to live a life that is full of anxiety and tension and pain and unhappiness. So please, in the class, try to work deep on yourself. And let's, you know, try to really make this resolution inside to learn this, to be grateful that this exists in the world. And by existing in the world, it'll give us all an opportunity to grow and to truly have a spiritual life. And as I always say, you know, and I really mean this, there's no two people sitting here. There are over 30 people here. You know, no two people are going to have a spiritual life exactly the same way. Everybody is unique. And all we're doing is consuming the energy so that it can allow us to truly tap that uniqueness in ourselves and allow us to truly become a child of God living in this world in our own unique way. Learning how to love in our unique way, have compassion in our unique way, and to truly let life be our teacher, because life will not teach anybody here the same way. Each one will get their own unique teaching, but everybody has to be strong enough to receive this. So please, everyone, try and work very deeply inside. After the class, if anyone has a question, I'll be happy to try and answer it. I've unmuted everyone. If anyone has a question, I'll be happy to try and answer it.
Good question, Stuart.
Yes.
Is this practice where outside of our meditation, we are walking around and in a sense having our eyes open, drawing in energy throughout our day, you know, having some attention on the one point? And if so, do we not draw in? Like, is it a take if we're drawing in with other people around us? Like, is there not an appropriate time to be drawing in energy?
Wendy, you're really complicating this. You know, I mean, look, what we what we do here, dear, is build an inner life, as I explained before the class, that's strong enough so that when we're living the rest of our day, our chakra system is so highly developed that we organically just live the day in the moment. Understand, we're not, do we this, do we that, do we, you know, it becomes living experience. You are grown so profoundly in yourself that you just live that way. Your system is, you know, so it's not trying to, is it this, is it that, is it, you know, you drive yourself crazy. But if you do that, then it's just telling you you have more work to do on yourself, because this meditation is an organic process of inner development. That's what it is. You know, learning how to get centered below the navel, being able to open the heart, feeling gratitude, feeling love, getting the mind, it's all organic. And we develop an inner life that is strong enough so that we live that way during the day. So that it's not like, am I drawing energy from people? It's just living in the moment, being in the moment. Whatever the moment requires, we're capable of being in the moment and living organically in that moment without having to think about what's going on. We just live. You know, it's what nature does all the time, for God's sake. Nature just is. And I always say nature's an extraordinary teacher for us, just how to be, how to surrender, how to let go, how spring becomes summer, summer becomes fall, how cycles fulfill themselves. You know, nature doesn't think about this. It just is. People spend all their time in their heads trying to figure all this stuff out, and they're making themselves crazy. So what we really are trying to do is to build an inner life that is strong enough to be. To be. Now, it's never going to be perfect, because nobody alive is perfect. But the closer we get to it, the more open our heart can be, the more quiet our minds can be, the more centered and balanced we can be in ourselves, the more we can unconditionally give to the people we love. And we can unconditionally receive from them without thinking about it, just being. I mean, I know philosophers have been trying to figure this out since the beginning of time, but it's not so complicated. The problem is that it's not in the head, it is in the chakra system. It's the development of a really strong inner life that makes it possible for us to do this. And the incredible thing is, the only thing that stops anybody from doing this is themselves. It's really true. We have all the tools. We have will, we have need, certainly. We have breath, we have mind. The only thing that stops us is we have spent so much time in our heads trying to figure out this world that it has created this enormous barrier between us and just being alive, being in the moment. And then you don't think about it. You respond. Life is there and we just live it, you know, and it's incredible. It takes a huge burden off of people not to have to spend their time figuring out every little stupid thing that goes on in this world. Because first of all, it's impossible to do. You know, impossible. But it is possible to be, to just be literally one with everything. And that requires love. You know, we can't do this if our hearts are closed. It requires balance, harmony, rootedness. It requires a quiet mind because we need knowledge, real wisdom, real inspiration. And what this does, it transforms everybody from people that are just racked with tension and insecurity and problems to people that have really attaining the highest level of what it means to be human. And that's just a happy person. It's the highest. You get happiness, you don't need anything else. You really have learned everything you have to learn on the earth just to be happy in your heart. And I don't mean when you win the lotto or something terrific. I mean, like all the time, you're taking out the garbage, you're washing the dishes, you're cooking, you're this, there's joy, there's gratitude for being alive in your heart. Now, how do you get that? You've got to build an inner life that makes it possible. Otherwise, I mean, just take a look at the world and what goes on in this world, you know? It's like a freaking zoo, what goes on here. No, it's worse. At least the animals live in the moment. It's worse than the zoo. You know? It's the sideshow at a circus. Not even the main three rings. It's the sideshow, what goes on in this world. And it's only because people have never developed inner lives. I mean, they talk about God, they talk about the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, all the great texts, but you know, it's a different thing about talking about it and really building an inner life, because all of those books are about one thing: building a strong inner life and getting your consciousness connected with God. Does anyone else have a question?
Stuart, I wanted to thank you for a really great class. I felt like I was releasing big balls of tension in a different way. And I just wanted to check back that I'm just not imagining it, because I feel so light now, and I was with you.
What is the question? Don't analyze it, because you'll destroy the whole classroom. Just open and be grateful that you had a class like that.
I am.
You don't have to talk about it, Tony. Just take it in yourself and be grateful for it. We don't have to discuss it. Okay. I don't have to confirm it. Yeah. I mean, if you have a lousy class, I'll tell you, okay?
Yeah.
A class like that, just keep your mouth shut and just take it inside and be grateful. Just have gratitude in your heart that your inner life is growing. You as a human being are growing. And when you start talking about these things, you just waste the energy, you know? You drain yourself from the whole experience.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, dear. Congratulations. I remember when I was younger and I was, writing a book, and I would start telling people about, and all of the energy of the book would just drain out of me. I had to wait weeks to regain the energy to write the book. Mm. You just keep it inside, and just when you interact with people, it's from the heart, it's with love. It's not about all your experiences, which, I mean, I told you that story where I once had the most amazing class with Rudy. Amazing. It was just like, I mean, I kind of was, I walked about 3 feet above the ground going home to where I live. And I met a friend of mine in the hallway, a good friend of mine, you know, and I mean, he was the guy who was with me when I met Rudy. And we used to live in the same building. And I'll never forget this. I told him about the whole experience. And by the time I finished telling him all this, he was 3 feet above the ground, and I had completely drained myself of all the energy I experienced. Completely. You know, and I learned a very important lesson from that. And keep your mouth shut. Keep it inside yourself. Talk about the Yankees. Talk about New York Knicks. Talk about the weather. You don't have to let out this incredible thing that just happened to you, because it just drains out of you into somebody else, you know? And they'll never know. They'll be just as good a friend if you don't have to convince them about a spiritual life. In fact, they'll probably be a better friend, because most people think when you talk about it, they think you're crazy, you know? You talk about this stuff. I mean, does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Isn't Rudy reincarnated in this world again, or he will be?
I can't answer that question, but I've been working my ass off, you know, at Sukkot to try to keep him from doing that. I really have. You know, I mean, he was so dear to me. You know, he saved my life. I was in a plane crash with him, for God's sake.
I know.
And he put his soul force inside me so I could live and do what I'm doing today. I have tried, but you know, I mean, it's just, his karma is to be in the world again. That's his karma. I respect that. And I'm sure if he is in the world or comes back, he'll be teaching on a very, very high level. And I would certainly hope to have him in one of my classes to train him in this so that he can teach on a very, very high level. He will, you know, he was an amazing being. So I don't know, I can't answer that question.
Yes, I know that, I know, but still.
All I can do is work as hard as I can to try to, you know, really pass on these amazing teachings to other people. And all of you, you know, he told me, he said, Stuart, I mean, I loved him more than anyone in the world. I mean this. I mean, I was very close to Rudy for 6 years. It was like father, son, it was extraordinary. And he told, don't love me, don't build shrines to me. You understand, just learn what I have to teach. Don't promote me, don't do it. Just the best thing you can do for me is truly learn what I have to teach. And if you learn that, I will be free. I won't have to come back here again. So I have spent my life out of sheer gratitude, you understand, doing what I do, you know, in order to hopefully, he doesn't have to come back here to all this bullshit that we have to deal with on the earth. And God bless him, you know, I mean, he's in my heart. He's everywhere I look and see and breathe. He's been with me when I was 6 years old. And this is a true story. I used to lie in bed at night and I would hear the name Rudy in my thoughts. Rudy, Rudy. I would hear this almost for every night. I was a kid. And then, you know, like 19 years later, I met him.
Amazing.
Extraordinary, huh? Whatever is karma, it's going to be a blessed karma. If he's up in the cosmos with God and working in some other dimension, he'll be doing his service to God in the universe. And I have the ultimate respect for that. And I really spend my life trying to sustain his work in a real way. You know, not to give it some strange interpretation that people do and whatever they do, just to do it in the way he taught it to me. And it doesn't mean I've lived my life like Rudy. I haven't. It's been very different. But it's the exercise, it's the energy. I never found anything in my life that worked better And I said, why am I going to change this? Why? It's just this extraordinary what this does. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I remember for 5 years, he used to beat the shit out of me every day. I mean, he really made me work, you know, and he really just, I mean, he did it with love. He did it with understanding that my chemistry is of nature, that I wasn't going to run away from this. I needed to be broken down. He did it that way. And I'll never forget, one day I'm standing on the stairway leading up into his house in Ashram, and came up to me and he gave me a big hug, you know, and he said, Stuart, you're my favorite of all the students I have. And it was only because I had changed so much from this neurotic, crazy kid, very nervous and full of anxiety and insecurity, to somebody who was truly, you know, doing the work that he was trying to pass on. And then the next day he passed on. Amazing, huh? The next day we were in that airplane crash.
Next day.
Yeah. So here you are, sitting here with a living miracle. I mean it. I see myself in the mirror. It's a living miracle. And I don't take any bullshit from people. I'm not interested in people's trips and this and that and bullshit. I've had enough of it in my life. And when somebody brings me that, boy, forget about it, you know? I'm like a, you know, a heavyweight champion in a ring with them, you know, because I can't take it anymore. I've had enough bullshit. I just want people to come with gratitude and love and and real capacity to have a spiritual life. Does anyone else have a question they would like?
I have a question, Stuart.
Yes.
When healing, the conversations, your last couple classes, you talked about healing, asking for help. At night, when I go to sleep, sometimes I ask and sometimes I forget to ask. Is when I'm sleeping a good time to ask for energies to come?
Great time. You can do a little exercise just as you're falling asleep. And that's just take a breath into the top of your head. And that'll open the crown chakra and allow the healing to come down, the Shakti to come down. But don't do this a lot because they're very powerful, this exercise. You do it once, enough. Don't, excuse me, do it in the meditation class. It's a very good thing to do just before you fall asleep.
Can I do it every night?
Yeah, every night, but just one breath. Don't start spending an hour breathing and you'll blow your brains away, you know, just one breath, you know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question you would like to ask? And that's for all of you, not just Christine, all of you. You can try this exercise, a very good exercise. I mean, it's an exercise I learned from Rudy. Does anyone else have a question you would like to ask? Okay, well, God bless you all. Thank you. In all humility, I'm so grateful that we have spent this year doing this Zoom stuff. I can't believe how much this has not only helped me, but it's helped a lot of people. And I'm just very grateful for it. And the thing that makes me the most grateful is I look at people, I see light in their eyes, I see love coming out of them, gratitude coming out of them. And I can't think of a better way, you know, to spend time with any human beings than what goes on in this meditation. So God bless you all. Thank you. And there'll be a class tomorrow evening. And I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody. Bless you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you,
Good night,
Stuart.
Stuart.
Bye.